A couple of videos back, I shared with you something that was sent to me by my subscriber John that was truly extraordinary. And it was these handmade walnut screw clamps that I featured in the Common Man's Toolkit. Well, I thought that these were built by John, but after so many of you commented and were inquiring about these clamps, John wrote me a letter and told me the story of where these came from. And it's quite an interesting and a compelling story. These clamps were not made by John, but they were made by his little brother, whom I don't know his name, so I'm just going to call him for this video Mr. McRae. And they are truly beautiful. These are handmade, and just look at the workmanship on them. Look at the wooden threads. Look at the square dowels. You think that's easy? Go try that sometime. Look at the head, and my favorite part, the little raised square dowels with the diamond heads on them. I mean, they're absolutely beautiful. I didn't show you. I also was given the two of these, the traditional squeeze clamps here, with the same beautiful wooden dowels. Look at that. I mean, they're absolutely beautiful. So now I'm going to tell you the story about these clamps. So John sent me a long email, and I wrote down kind of the high points, some cheat sheets there, and I just don't do very well at that, so I'll just go off of memory. If I get this wrong, John, I apologize. It's not intentional. But Mr. McRae, the carpenter who has built these clamps, is John's younger brother. And the family's had a lot of hardship. Mr. McRae, when he was 5, was diagnosed with polio. He lost his sister to the disease, and also his mother suffered a nervous breakdown from all of the difficulty that came from these childhood diseases with her children. Well, during the Vietnam era, he wanted to serve the country, and when he went in for his physical, he was easily could have qualified to get out on physical disabilities, but he wanted to serve. He insisted, and it ended up getting in and serving 4 years, even though he didn't have to. When he got back after the war, he got married and had a son, and unfortunately, there is a reoccurrence of childhood polio. I'm not familiar with it, post-adult polio syndrome or something like that, and he became very sick, which has haunted him to today. Coupled with diabetes and his wife leaving him and his son leaving him and never not having any contact and unable to really work or to do anything because he's just been so disabled. He lives in a small homestead or a small piece of land in Massachusetts. And so with all of these disabilities, and one of the main ones being really bad issues with his eyesight and his eyes weeping all the time and making, and a lack of strength and ability, he toils over these clamps and he makes these things one at a time. I can only imagine how difficult that must be to him. He doesn't have a lot of money. He survives off a very meager pension from this military service. And according to John, he's very generous in the community. He is a regular churchgoer, and it's common for him he builds these clamps, and he makes beautiful little wooden boxes, as well as stained glass lampshades that he gives away. He said it's common for the neighbors to on their doorstep, Mr. McRae will leave vegetables from his garden, fruit, and then things that he builds, like these clamps here. And I was really moved by the story, and I know there's a lot of things that I'm missing, but the thing that I wanted to share with you that I think is the most important is that Mr. McRae is indeed an amazing craftsman and carpenter. And his brother said that, and I didn't realize this, his brother said that he is a subscriber to my channel, and he doesn't miss an episode. He watches every one. And when he saw his clamps, he didn't know this was going to happen, that I had mentioned them or showed them in a video. It was it was one of the biggest things that had happened to him in years and years. And then even more important than that, as he read through the comments, and there were so many hundreds and hundreds of you commented on what beautiful work this was and how amazing these clamps are. As his brother put it, I wrote it down here, I didn't want to miss it. His heart was glowing, as John said. His heart was glowing because he had never been told by anyone what a fine craftsman he was, apart from his family members. And you know, that doesn't always count. So I wanted to share that with you, and I wanted to do this for you, John, and for Mr. McRae, and I wanted to thank you personally, Mr. McRae, for creating these beautiful clamps, and for your brother John, for sending these to me. I am truly moved, and it's a wonderful story. And every time I use these, and whenever I feel like cutting a corner, or whenever I feel like, oh, you know, I'm too tired to do this, or I don't have time to do this, I'm going to remember how difficult, how much labor and blood, sweat, and tears must have went into making these things with a man with so many disabilities. And I really am grateful. It's one of the most special things that I've ever received, and I really mean that. So I wanted to share that with you. I know, of course, the questions are going to come up. Well, you know, where can we buy these clamps? You know, can we buy them? And I don't know that that's possible. I know that John said that Mr. McRae had tried to get into maybe some small craft shows and different things, but there was always an entrance fee that was kind of steep, and he just didn't have the ability to do it, to get in and to sell and to share his work. So I just don't know. I guess if there's an update on this, if John has a way of helping him to, you know, sell his work, I'll be certainly happy to pass that on. And I have no doubt that we could probably sell everything you build, Mr. McRae, without any trouble, and would be happy to do that. So I wanted to thank all my subscribers for the nice comments. And you know, you just never know how something you say or what you do, how it can impact someone's life in a positive way. And just judging from the letter that I received, that it meant the world to this man, to see your comments and to see his, to be acknowledged as a master carpenter. I think meant a lot to him. So as much as this pains me to do, and I had to really think on this, and I hope, John, that you support me in this, is that I am going to include 2 of these clamps in the Common Man's Toolkit. I wasn't going to include any clamps. It's very hard for me to part with these, but I picked out the 2 little ones, the little ones that we used for clamping on the knife block right here, and that will leave me with 5 clamps or so of the regular ones. So that's fine. I can't just be stingy and keep everything, but we'll include these 2 clamps in the Common Man's Toolkit, and I think that's important. So thank you, John. Thank you, Mr. McRae, and well done. And we hope to hear from you soon. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys on the next video.